on? Eric here, and this is the Telecaster kit guitar that I'm started working on. This is the neck that I'm currently doing a fret leveling job on. Now the neck has already been coated with the poly, the tuners are already installed, it's been dried. Now the next part of this is to make sure that these frets are leveled, that there's no problem with them. I've already found that there is a little bit of an issue with the frets, and it's a kit guitar. It's kind of a thing you run into. So you see the blue painter's tape on here. The green automotive tape that I would normally use for masking off stuff leaves a residue on the fretboard. The blue painter's tape does not. So this is the only time when I actually will use this tape for doing something like this. You want to make sure that the fretboard is clean and there's no oil on it before you put the tape, otherwise the tape is not going to stick. So what I've got going on here is I've already marked off all the frets with the black magic marker, and I'm using a 320 grit sandpaper on a sanding beam. Now I've already checked to see if the neck is perfectly level. You're going to need one of these tools to do so. They're double-sided. One side is a 24 3/4, and the other side is a 25 1/2. So there's a difference between each side for different variances as far as where the fret locations are. I've already checked it with this. This is pretty inexpensive. You can get it off of eBay. They're cheap, so they're not, and they work pretty good. They're not too bad. So it's a good idea to do that maybe before you start doing your leveling of your frets. Now I did check all the frets to make sure that they are level with each other after straightening out the neck, and there's a little bit of some rocking going on here and there on here, so I want to take care of that before I finish everything with the neck and mount it to the body. Now the nice thing about this is the neck comes to you basically raw. There's no stain on it, there's no finish on it, there's nothing on these necks. And this neck here had basically like an epoxy coating already on it. The body does too. I had to sand that off before I put the finish on. Now if this was raw wood and you were start to do a fret leveling, well, the little bits that you're going to sit there and sand off of the frets, the black powder or gray powder that you get from the metal, the nice thing about having a finished neck, you don't have to worry about getting those fingerprints or getting that black powder in the wood. It's kind of a pain in the ass to get out. It stains it. So I recommend finishing the neck first before doing this. So I already got the black on there, and now I'm going to sit there and kind of level this off a little bit. Now the bar that I'm using, a friend of mine told me, get a bar that's the length of your neck. And the reason why is because when you use a sanding block for doing this, the radius blocks, or if you use the smaller one, like the Fret Guru, they're shorter. So as you're sanding from this area down to this area and keep on going back and forth, your center is getting cut more than your ends are because you keep on overlapping each direction. So the center gets a little bit chopped up more. I found this to be true. Using something that's about the length of your neck works out perfect for this. Now if you didn't have a nut, like in this case I took the nut out of the equation because I didn't want to hit it, I didn't want to break it, I didn't want to chip the fingerboard or fretboard, and plus I'm going to put a bone nut on here anyways. So good idea to remove it. Now if you had a radius block for your neck and you started at the top and worked all the way to the bottom and then came back up and kept on sanding like that, chances are you're not going to cut the middle more. The shorter beams, you'll cut the middle more. So basically what I'm going to do with this now is just go ahead. The marker is already on there. You just kind of want to take these down a little bit. Let the beam do the work for you. I'm hitting all the frets at one time without putting any pressure on the neck or on the beam. I'm seeing that there's some that are getting it and some that are not. So I still have to take it down a little bit more. that here now. So I got a few over here, a couple over here, but it's not looking bad at all. So I'm going to finish doing this and I'll go into the next step and show you what to do with that. Alright, the next step I want to do is to crown the frets. So I already did a few of them. So, masking off the fretboard again. Only in the areas that I'm filing. Again with the black magic marker. Go across the top of the fret. This is a StewMac fret file. It is triangle. And each edge has been polished down so it has no cutting surface on each edge. So just hold on to the fretboard. Check out, or hold on to the neck. Hold the file on an angle, slight angle, not much, but it's already pitched. And just kind of go over the fret evenly and straight. And follow the radius of the neck. And what I'm looking for is basically a little line going down the center of the fret. Now you do not want to round the fret off as far as using this file goes. This is not for that. But you do want to taper down the edges with a nice peak without losing the flat spot that you made in the center of the fret. And then go into the next fret. Now I have another way of rounding off the top of the fret, which you guys have probably seen before in past videos. Pretty simple to do. So I'm going to continue to finish crowning the rest of these, and I'll get into the next one in a minute. Now that the frets are all crowned, they've been leveled, they've been crowned, and basically what I'm looking for is just a straight line going across the center of each fret, and about the size of a pencil. So that's done. Now it's time to kind of round them over and polish them. So this is a trick that I learned from Dave's World of Fun Stuff. Alright, you have a rubber pad, kind of a stiff rubber, comes to a point. This is used for applying graphics on vehicles. Now, I haven't done that in a long time. I don't even know if they even still put graphics on vehicles anymore. But anyways, I'm going to use that for fanning over the frets, and it's going to round them off, get rid of all the sharp edges left over from crowning. And yes, I'm not putting anything over the fretboard to protect it. Don't really have to. You can do that if you want to. I've done it before. Never had a problem. And when you fan it, you want to make sure you go over each fret. Now, don't sit there and go like in the middle, then work your way down, or off to the sides, and do the whole thing at one time. With this, I'm starting off with 220 grit sandpaper, and I'll work my way down just like if I was going to start polishing paint, plastic. Follow the radius of the fretboard. You can kind of see it's rounding it off real nicely. I don't know if you could see it, but I could see it pretty damn good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this around like this, so I can have something to hold on to. What I'm looking for is just a nice rounded fret. It looks pretty damn good. Then after this, I'm going to switch it off with a 400 grit sandpaper, 800 grit or 600 grit sandpaper, 800 grit sandpaper, and I'll show you the polishing once I'm done with that. Alright, now that I have the frets pretty much rounded off, the next step is going to be polishing them. Now, some of you guys like to use a little bit of rubbing compound and the Dremel. I like to do it the hard way. So basically what I'm going to do is to protect the fretboard, mask it, put a little tape on it again, try to get real close to the fret. Some people will use steel wool to do this. I will use 1000 grit sandpaper to do this. So take a piece of 1000 grit sandpaper, fold it up a little bit, and just go over the top of the fret and the sides. You don't have to worry about the 1500 grit sandpaper flattening out the top of your fret or anything. It's barely removing anything on the surface. Now, if you guys know me from my last channels, I like my frets to look like chrome. So, a little bit of stage 1 rubbing compound. On a rag, wipe it on. And polish it into the metal. Dremel works too with a polishing wheel, but I like to do it this way. Make sure I get all the edges clean. And if you can see a difference between that one and that one's the one I just did. And that one still has a kind of a haze over it. Very smooth, like chrome. So, I've got the rest of these to do. I'm not going to bore you with it. Probably bored you enough already. So I'm going to finish polishing the rest of these. Well, the Telecaster neck is now complete. This is the next guitar build that I'll be doing, kit guitar. And after I ended up polishing the frets, hit it with a little bit of oil. Focus, you bastard. So they're rounded right now, and the oil that I use is a Dunlop 65. Total time on this took about, I would say, a good 3 hours. So prepared to kind of give up a good portion of your time to do this. They've all been polished. They are like chrome. They're very, very smooth. They've been rounded. No flat spots, and everything kind of worked out just perfect. So, there you have it, boys and girls. Getting back to my roots, doing some fret leveling. You guys take care. Have a good one.